We're going to do a kind of a fun one. We've got the budget drakes list. I don't remember exactly. We're going to do a kind of a fun one. We've got, oh, pardon me for that. So we've got budget drakes. I don't remember exactly where this list originated at, but I've seen it pop up a few times. I want to make a couple changes before we get rolling. I think it needs ionizes. I think we'd probably cut the Fight with Fire's main board and add. I think I want 4 copies of Ionize. Let's see. We'd probably end up cutting. Let's cut 2 Discovery Dispersals and. So I'm not super sold on the card. It's good, but I'm not super sold on it. And then we've got 14, 15, 23. I think we can afford to drop a mountain. So we've got basically the bread and butter of this deck is Enigma Drake as well as Crackling Drake. So before the new set came out, people continuously were trying to make Enigma Drake happen. There just wasn't enough. With only one creature that really did this, it was really hard to make it valuable. But now with the addition of Crackling Drake, it does cost 1 more, but it also gives you a card draw when you play it. So it's a fun budget deck. I mean, I don't think. I mean, the Ionizes would be rares. Maybe that's why the original list didn't have Ionizes. I mean, yeah, the deck is commons and uncommons. So you could probably build this deck for $30, maybe less, even if you don't run the Ionizes. You'd probably sub those in for like cancels or Sinister Sabotages even. So let's go ahead and let's try and do this one in a constructed event. Trying to get some gold built up there. So let's see how we're doing. And go ahead and welcome our first viewer of the night. So let's go ahead and see how we can do with this deck. I've played this deck a bit before. It's really fun to play. You'd probably be fine at an F&M. The problem is protecting your drakes when they're on board can be problematic. That's why I think we wanted to add the counter spells and to give us a little more resiliency. Because the Siren Storm Tamer is great, but sometimes you really do just need to counter whatever it is your opponent's dropping. We've got we got protection, we got removal, and not the best hand in the world, but I think we'll keep it anyway because we do curve fairly decently in there. Fairly decently. So let's see, let's go ahead. We got double Ionize. That might actually be too many Ionizes. So we've got our Electromancer down. The problem is now is we need to make sure we hit that 3rd land. Ooh. I don't think it's going to matter. I think we need to kill that. We need to kill that because that Amara will get way out of hand really quick. Go ahead and poke in for some damage. Get us a super cheap Charter Course. Still didn't get a land, so I think unless they've got like a Seal Away, which I don't think the token decks run Seal Away. Let's go ahead and that would be 4, 5, 6. Hopefully we get we get a Dimir Guildgate. That's fine. And then we'll end turn. So at worst case, we are getting the graveyard filled up. We have a healthy amount of instants and sorceries in there. Looks like our opponent's going to pass turn. Let's go ahead and opt. See if we can get another land. Yeah, I'll take that. So the ability to protect. We need 1 more. We need 1 more mana. So I think what we're going to do is we're actually going to play. We're going to go ahead and swing in, get our 2. And then, so we can get the most value out of our Chemister's insights, I think we're going to drop another Goblin Electromancer. Because we really, at this point, I don't know if we'd waste an Ionize to protect our Electromancers. All that is a healthy amount of damage coming through on the ground. Yeah, I think we're going to be forced to do that. Ionize is such a good card. I mean, that really might be... And our opponent scoops. So I think Ionize might have been one of the last components that a blue-red deck was truly missing to make it in the new standard. Invert Invent. All right, I'll take that. So I need to get this set up. I'm using Bebo right now to do my streaming. I think I need to move to using OBS. I'll probably work with that this weekend because I remember that software being slightly painful to set up. And then that way I'll actually start posting all this on YouTube. So I can... Because I think Twitch only holds your streams for like 30 days or something. And I'd like to have a nice archive. Not great, but I can keep this. It's the main reason I've been making these videos is I want to... I have several friends that are just getting into Magic or getting back into Magic, and I want to show them that there are some competitive budget decks out there that really can do quite well. I'm not saying I would take them to a Grand Prix or anything, but there are decks that I think would fare very well at a Friday Night Magic or a maybe a... Yeah, probably. They're good Friday Night Magic decks. Oh, man, I really hate to bin all of that, but... maybe I don't bin... Maybe I opt it, because I may want to come back to that later. So we're still... maybe I should have binned that. Just because it looks like we're going to be really stuck on mana here, and these Merfolk... What's this guy doing? Oh yeah, these Merfolk decks can really just get out of hand, and I don't have any removal at all, or any creatures on the board even. So this game's probably going to get out of hand very quick. I think we chart a course. Oh, this just isn't even. I think we're in a really bad position here. Let's go. We can always cast the Chemister's Insight again later, because that River Sneak is just going to get bigger. Especially if they drop those 1/1s that anytime a Merfolk comes into play, put a +1/+1 counter on another Merfolk. That's just going to get disgusting. So hopefully we can... Yeah... We could have drawn... We had outs to get that River Sneak off the table. But... Yeah, I mean, we've got a land now. I think we're... I think this is a little too late. I mean, we might be able to make this serviceable. We might be able to survive to the next turn, but we don't have bounce. We'd have to get 2 burn spells to get that River Sneak off the table. I think we're just in a... I think we probably shouldn't have kept that hand. So we'll take 5. Takes us down to 4. We've really got to come up with something. We don't run any bounce. That's... Yeah, I think we got held off on our lands. 2, 3, 4. Yeah, there's... I mean, we could really kind of drag this out if we play Crackling Drake. No, that won't even get us anywhere. So, all right, there goes the game. I thought we had a chance. I was wrong. So we got 1 for 1. Let's see if we can get another one. That seems to be the motto for standard going forward right now. Is those quick aggro decks. Merfolk has gotten really good this standard. I have a buddy that used to play it pre-rotation, so I'll have to let him know that that's viable again. We'll have to look at it. At least we have removal and draw. This is better. The hand we had last game just didn't even have removal. So we can at least curve into some removal. I think this is going to be a tough matchup. Simply because I think our opponents are going to have better opportunities to play their counter spells than what we are. And they might not even be showing it yet, but they might be on Jeskai. And we just don't even know it yet. So I think we'll play land for the turn and pass. We may actually want to ditch. We may actually want to throw this lightning strike at their face. The end of turn, just so we can keep our hand size down a little bit. And then plus odds are, because we only have a couple creatures in our deck, their Sealaways and their Ixalan's bindings are just gonna tear us apart. So we've got more land, and we pass. And then we don't have any way to get rid of that search for Escanta either. That's not so much a problem now, but that's going to be a problem next, or as soon as that Escanta gets activated, that's going to pose a real problem for us. See, now we can play a Crackling Drake, but odds are it's going to get countered. But we're going to have to wait for 7... I think we're just going to pass. I don't think we want to run that Crackling Drake out there quite yet. I'd like to see us get some more... if we can get any kind of way to protect that thing, I think we're going to be in a much better spot. But they just continue to build up resources. I think we'll Chemister's Insight at the end of their turn, see if we can get some more mana. And then we walk it right into a Syncopate. That's fine. And we'll pass turn. So we need to get 7. And we've got 5. But that's fine, because we're in the control matchup. And control is just slow and grindy, especially blue-white. So we can just take our time while our opponent takes their time. And unfortunately, they did Syncopate our Chemister's Insight, so that exiled it, so we don't get a chance to jumpstart it. So they're leaving up. They've got Essence Scatter mana. I think we'll play a Siren Storm Tamer and pass turn. That's pseudo protection for our Crackling Drake. It won't protect us from getting counterspelled. But what that does do is that does protect us against like an Ixalan's Binding or a Seal Away, something along those lines. Like we have here, do we want to let them seal away our Siren Storm Tamer? No. I think we're going to try and counter that. And they may very well have counter backup. But that's fine. The more counters we get out of their hand, the better off we're going to be. Devious cover-up. So, okay, so our opponent has probably running very, very heavy on the counter spells. But we'll just have to try and see if we can overload them. Because we're one land away from being able to jam an Enigma Drake with counter backup. So hopefully we get that land that we need. So we're at 22 lands. We shouldn't have a problem seeing lands the rest of the game, but you never know. They did actually shut down all of our draw spells, so that's going to be a problem. And then more than likely what will happen is as soon as we play an Enigma Drake with counter backup, we blow our mana and then they hit us with a Teferi the next turn and tuck the Enigma Drake. That's just the way it goes sometimes. But I'm not going to save up 9 mana to play one card. We do have to kind of actually force them to expend some resources. And our opponent's continuing to think here. What did they do? Counter-attack plus 5. Okay. So we are in a fairly bad spot, but I think this is what we're going to have to do to try and get out of this. We've got counter backup, but given what it is our opponent appears to be playing, he probably is running just all the counters. Yeah, so I mean there's... really not much we can do in this situation. This is an incredibly bad matchup for us. And that's... Well, on the bright side, we do get to play a Crackling Drake this next turn, but we won't have any... Well, their ability to tuck is going to be a problem for us. So I think we just jam it anyway. Probably get counterspelled. Yeah, I think we're done with this match. So that is the worst matchup that we can come up against. I honestly don't even know if that one's winnable. But I'd like to try and show these decks off to you. So what I might end up doing if this constructed event ends up ending earlier than I was anticipating, maybe I'll run through a few Q games. Or maybe I'll try and fire off another constructed event with a different deck. I think I've got a few other ones that I haven't shown y'all yet. Can't cast anything. I go first. I'll mulligan that one. I'll keep. And we'll take a land on the top. I think we'll take... We might want to hold up that off. We don't necessarily need to play that turn one, which is fine. Play a Steam Vents. We'll do it tapped. Maybe save a little life there. I don't know what our opponent's on yet. There's a whole host of... that's fine. This deck's probably running a lot of removal, so should want to try and keep a counter up if possible. Let's go ahead and opt. We've got a land. I think an Enigma Drake is fine. We might try and jam that Enigma Drake out there. They could be, the deck could be very, very heavy on removal, but we don't have any backup anyway. So let's just go ahead and do it. Let's live on the wild side, because they could potentially. Let's see. There's cast down. They can cast. That's fine. So I think what we want to get. Do we just Wizard Lightning? That Wizard Lightning is going to be really expensive for us. I think we discover. Maybe we toss a couple. Maybe we'll keep the. Ooh, those are both really good. I hate to drop either of those into the bin. Yeah, I don't think I want to get rid of either of those. So I think what we'll do is we'll strike down their flyer. This might be the life gain deck. I've seen this one floating around a little bit. It has the, I guess I shouldn't call it a life gain deck. It's a life drain deck, and the deck seems to do it fairly well. We don't have the ability because we want to chart a course after we swing in to get the most value. It doesn't have death touch. So we'll attack. I'm not going to block. That's fine by me. I almost want to say, do we play the Crackling? Let's go ahead and, yeah, let's just play the Crackling Drake. See if we get lucky, draw land. We do. Still don't have any wizards on the table, so that's... He's going to be difficult to deal with. I think what we have to do now is we have to race our opponent. I think that's how we win, because he's going to get pretty nasty with all that life gain. But I think we win if we just go ham. Huh. Some instants and sorceries would have been nice, but we have our opponent dead on board unless they have some kind of removal, which they very well might. Which they very well might. So they do have a murder. Okay, so we're 4 shy. We've got 7 mana. I almost want to say, because I doubt we're going to get to play 4 spells off this. So I think we swing in, we get our damage in, and then we just follow that up with 2 more Drakes. And I think that should get us. That should get us the game next turn. So they're going to gain 4 life. They're going to go up to 8. I don't know what they have in their hand. Okay, so they gain another 4 life. 8, 12. Vampires, yeah, that's fine. Do we... Yeah, just so we can get some of their tokens off the board. And we still have the game. So there we go. This is really where this deck is going to shine. Like I said, this deck doesn't really have a lot in the way of rares, so it really is pretty much just a common and uncommon deck. It's really cheap and easy to build. But it's not going to have the power that your tier 1 decks are going to have, or maybe even your tier 2 decks. This might be a tier 3 deck, but this is going to give you the ability to win some games. And this is going to give you the ability to actually compete with those tiered decks. And I'm a huge fan of budget decks. If I can get good results, prime example. Well, after I go over my hand selection here, um, this should be fine enough. Last standard, I played mono red wizards for FNM, and I think I spent $120 on the deck in total. I ended up, I think last time I did the math, I had won 6 tournaments, each tournament averaging about $20. So I almost made my money back, and I'm fairly certain I made over my money back. And then I have my modern deck, which I spent a little more than I should have, but originally it was a $68 8-whack deck, and I ended up winning like 1 or 2 tournaments with it. It's all about getting value. You can win with cheap cards. You really can. Especially if you're brand new to the game and you're just kind of getting your bearings. I think we unfortunately have to kill that. So, for especially for new players out there, this is a common problem I run into with new players is they want to build their own decks. And that's fine. Build your own decks. Be creative, but if you want to show up to Friday Night Magic and you want to be competitive, look online. Find people that have budget deck lists put together. Because you're going to get infinitely more value out of finding someone else's budget deck that's been tested than you will trying to brew on your own. And you'll get, because there's a lot of nuances that go into constructing a Magic deck. It's not just pick up these cards. These cards look cool. Let's play it with these cards that also look cool. And I've got a deck. That's not really how it works. So you really want to make sure that you have a deck that's been tuned, that actually has cohesion. Because a lot of times you find people that, that their deck's trying to do 7 different things. So you really need to have one clear, concise end game strategy when you're playing Magic. Yeah, well, Enigma Drake. So I think even if they attack, we let them in just so we don't get eaten by a lightning strike here. Oh, they didn't even bother swinging in. Okay. So, I think we'll go ahead and play an Electromancer. Combat will swing in. Because now we're off to the races. So we'll get the crack back, but that's fine. And that leaves us in prime position next turn to be able to drop another Crackling Drake and really begin putting pressure on our opponent. But we have to remember, we have to keep that counter magic up right now because a Seal Away or an Ixalan's Binding is just going to be devastating for us. Ooh. I think we are going to have to we're going to have to play that untapped. We'll swing in. Do we want to go in with... Yeah, we'll go in with both our attackers. We will drop... See, if we drop a Crackling Drake, that'll still leave us with mana open. So we'll have a blocker. We've got Counterspell backup. I think we're going to be in a good position here. Ooh. And then we also have the potential to drop a Lightning Strike on them. Well, maybe we'll hold up on the Lightning Strike. And as our opponent, we'll let that resolve. I think... we block the life linker. That's going to be the biggest problem we have going forward. And then we might have to be a little more conservative going forward. Target creatures +2 gains indestructible till end of turn. I think we're going to say... we'll ionize it. Even though they do have the potential to have that one red buff. But we made it through. So now we can Storm Tamer. We can play an Electromancer. And then I think we can probably get away with... I think we just swing in with the entire team here. Yep, there we go. So we did all right there. I don't think they could have had like a shock to kill the Electromancer, and then we just would have did a lightning strike. So all right, we are working our way back. We are at 3-2, and going into the potential to at least break even on this. So and that's the other thing too, is if you can get a deck that will allow you to break even or go infinite on your constructed events, that's just going to allow you to, you're going to build up cards that might not be that great. I keep this. But it'll even allows you to get some gold piled up. And once you get really good at a deck, that's when you really will start to see your results. Because normally when a standard will roll around, I'll pick a deck that I want to play, and then I just get really good at playing that one deck. Brutus is talking to me over there. What are you saying, Brutus? So we'll attack and combat. Let's go ahead and opt. Let's see if we can find a red mana. We really needed a red mana. We have no red mana. I think we island. I don't know if we want to do that or not. I think if we can pass turn, we can opt at the end of their turn, and then we can chart a course. I think maybe we didn't get the most out of our mana on that one, but with chart a course, if you did an attack, you have to discard a card, and I really don't want to discard anything we've got up. Oh, well, we need a burn spell bad. This is going to be really ugly if we can't get that off the table. Whenever another merfolk enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on target merfolk you control. That is going to get really nasty really quick if we can't get that resolved. So let's hope we can opt into... Nope, we need red mana. We need red mana. Okay, so we got a Wizard's Lightning, but we don't have red mana. What? What are you telling me, Brutus? So, we're in a really bad spot now. We have... Maybe I made a mistake cutting that 23rd mana. Maybe we needed that one more than I thought. Because I don't remember having these kind of mana issues before. But, I'm sure this is purely conspiracy theory, but I've noticed that sometimes when I sit down to do a constructed event, sometimes I'll find that all my games I get more mana than I need, and then I'll find some games where I just don't get any mana. So, I mean, we've seen 7, 8, 9, 10, 11... 12, 13, we had 2 in hand, so 5. So we should have seen at least 1 mana by now. Let's see, I don't think... don't know. I don't think we can recover from being this far behind, but so I have a feeling this is going to be the end of our run here very soon, because that means I think they're going to 4, 7, 10. We don't run sweepers in this deck, so I think that's going to be it. Good game, opponent. So unfortunately, we find ourselves only getting 3 wins, or we get 4 wins. So we failed to go infinite. We only got 400 of our gold back, but we did get a rare. We got a Hungering Hydra, Aegis of the Heavens, and a Nature's Spiral. So yeah, so we failed to go infinite. We did get our 6 games in. That's kind of disappointing. But I think what we're going to do here is we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back here in a few minutes, and maybe we'll run another one out real quick. So, yeah, we'll be back soon.